Well, let's go to communism a little more before we switch over, actually. So, what about the Second Amendment? Would keep that?
Yeah, Marx actually has a quote that says any attempt to disarm the workers should be disrupted by force if necessary. So real communists have always been very pro-gun. Because
No,
how
that's
else are
good.
you going to
Yeah,
stop the government?
No, because you are supposed to stop the government tyranny. That's why it's here for America.
Yep.
It's not. It's to fight the government, not just random people. That's the whole point of it. A lot of people don't realize that. That's why we need ARs and all this. And people are like, oh, you can't win that way. It's like you can though, because it's not it's not easy for them. Yeah, they have drones, tanks, but it's not that easy. When people have guns, they can creep up.
Guerrilla war, and many military members would probably join. Any kind of uprising against the government, and that would cause problems for them logistically. It's very possible to have a guerrilla war that overthrows the government. Not that I'm advocating for that.
No, it's happened multiple times. We lost to Vietnam. We lost to Afghanistan in the hills. Hopefully in Palestine, Israel will lose. It shows that you can win these guerrilla warfares over long periods of time, because it's hard if resistance just keeps fighting.
Right. Palestine's a perfect example. How many bombs have they dropped on the tiny little Gaza Strip?
I think more than like World War II. I think I read somewhere or something, or more than they dropped on England in World War II at least. It's just disgusting.
Right. This tiny little strip of land. But the people keep fighting. They keep killing leaders. And
and they tried making that Sinawar into a coward, and then they released the footage, and it's like, you're calling this guy a coward. He's on the front lines fighting, covered in dust, his arms basically blown off, has a tourniquet, he's still throwing sticks at the drones when they come to kill him. This guy fights to his last breath. It's fine to not like what he does, but to call him a coward, it just shows you how out of touch they are.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was inspiring for me. I actually ended up almost getting banned on TikTok again because I had a few drinks and started defending Sinwar on TikTok. But
I think, it just shows you how they miscalculated. To them, they're like, haha, we're going to show this guy dying, because they don't understand, they're such cowards over their drones. We're going to show a guy dying, but it's like, this guy's you can definitely say he's done some bad things, but ultimately he's defending his land. It's like, he has nowhere to go. They probably killed, all of his friends, family. What's he going to do? So, he's in his 60s, but they were telling us the whole time that he was hiding in a tunnel like a rat. He's a coward, hiding in hospitals. He was right in the front line, engaging with tanks, with his soldiers. He's the leader of Hamas. Benjamin Netanyahu is hiding in a bunker.
Yeah.
Like a coward. And they're telling us this guy's the coward. It's fine to say you don't like what he does, but to say he's a coward, no.
Hiding behind his U.S.-backed weapons. And Sinwar spent 19 years in Israeli prisons being tortured. And that's the thing. There's thousands of Palestinians in Israeli prisons being tortured. And then they're talking about, we need to bomb them to get the hostages back. Like, you have Palestinian hostages.
Yeah, and they've been offering the hostages back this whole time.
Right.
Yeah, and they're also big on rape. A lot of guys probably don't admit they're rape, but they try to rape them all, to dehumanize them and make them, humiliate them. I think it happens a lot more than the guys want to admit, but they're infatuated with raping everyone. They're just disgusting people. Yeah. But none of the Palestinian hostages were raped or abused. That was a spy that wrote that story. It was a Mossad spy. It just came out. The mass rapes and before he had babies. Yeah. All the prisoners would come out and be like, oh, we were treated great, because he was very big on treat the prisoners good. Yeah. And kidnapping people is still terrible, so I'm not going to defend that. Right. But the plan was like a hostage swap.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It was tactical, and they were treated better, like you said, than there's so much documented torture in Israel. Since it's out of control.
Oh, even on Wikipedia, we'll say it. People can Google Wikipedia Israel torture, and it doesn't even deny it. It's proven, known thing. They have massive torture camps, and it's just, we turn a blind eye to it.
Yep.
They're the only supposed civilized country in the world that's still torturing. And America did it at one point, but it's a stain on us where it was embarrassing. The guys were in jail. We don't look at that proudly, and yet Israel still does it, and we give them money.
Right.
And they were on camera gang raping some guy.
Yeah, and then protesting their right to do it afterwards.
Oh, then, we had riots to get the guys out of jail. Then the guy's going on TV, a TV star. It's just a sick nation.
It is. It's a truly sick society, and that's why I think that needs to cease to exist eventually as a state. You at least can't have an ethno-state. You can't say Arabs are banned here. We get this land. It's all ours, and they're not allowed in. That's not civilization.
No. Plus, they want to keep taking lands. The thing too. I don't know if you know Greater. Probably aware of that. And then it's not like a conspiracy. It's like they wear it on their uniforms, and Netanyahu holds pictures of it. They want to take pieces of. Everyone's always, well, why don't the other Arab nations take the refugees? It's because they plan on taking their land next.
Yes.
And it's terrible. The Palestinians are just used as pawns. I feel so terrible for them. It's like
Gaza's just a punching bag. Every time Hezbollah does something, they just bomb Gaza, bomb these kids, It's yeah, I mean, and to the justification for armed resistance, like the only time Israel was ever given land back was when they took the Sinai Desert from Egypt, and then Egypt, and that was in 1967, and then 1970 or 1973, Egypt and Syria launched the surprise attack where they were able to kill like 200 some IDF members, and it was the most casualties Israel had ever taken. And then Egypt was able to negotiate to get the desert back. So the only language that Israel understands is force. You know?
Well, the Sinwar guy, he was in 2018 and 19. They did they wanted to do a peaceful protest to try a border protest. So they're like, oh, we're gonna march on the border to see if this works. This is the same guy. He's like, let's try something different. They responded by killing 223, 46 children, shooting like 10,000, and like I think maybe 1,000 of them they shot in the dicks like unintentionally to take their manhoods away, like laughing about it. So that's how they respond to peaceful protests.
Exactly. All they did was walk up to the walls.
Yeah. So what would any man do in America? Are you gonna sit there and take it, or are you gonna so they call them terrorists? Like who's the terrorists?
Exactly. Like, I don't ideologically agree with Hamas.
No.
Hamas aren't communists. They're, based in Muslim, their religion. But, like, if the same thing was happening in America, there'd be Christian militias or whatever.
I would hope so.
Join
Yeah,
them.
I would hope so. Because there better be militias. If they're not let people just come and take our land and kill us and rape us and torture us.
Right. Yeah, it's hard for Americans to put themselves in other people's shoes. But I feel like the world is waking up to the Israel thing.
They're definitely becoming unpopular. It's hard because our politicians are all bought by them. And they push for him so heavily, And Trump, a lot of people, whatever Trump says, they just repeat. So it's so disappointing that Trump doesn't speak truth on that.
Yeah, I had a coach who I was really getting through to him on Zionism, and then as soon as Trump came pro-Israel, it just went.
Yeah, because Trump was in the middle, and once he went hard, that was terrible. But I think the world's seeing it, and overall, people are turning on him. And
yeah, that's why this podcast is so awesome too, because you're bringing so many people together who are different ideologies, willing to talk to communists or whatever about it. Yeah,
and like I said, I'm willing to talk to anyone. It just happens to be people keep being. I haven't had any pros in this yet. I guess I should at some point, but man, it's almost hard to talk to them. It's like, how are you gonna when someone's like pro killing children? I need to do it at some point, but that's a tough conversation to have.
It is, and you're probably not gonna learn anything. They're just gonna repeat
gaslight and talking point. Yeah. No, because that's when I first went to. When I started paying attention, they were just speaking talking point after talking point to me, and it just wasn't quite adding up. Because I was trying to go down to the West Bank. I had a friend down there. I was trying to go to the West Bank, and they just weren't letting me. And that's when I started going home and started doing a lot of research. And they're great with their talking points. They're amazing. This is always our homeland. We were invaded all the time. Why can't we have our own nation? It's like they don't realize they can. They just started massacring people, taking more and more land.
One of my favorite books is Norm Finkelstein's The Holocaust Industry, because his parents were Holocaust survivors, but he says in the 1950s most Americans didn't know this happened. They didn't know it was a thing. Then in the 60s, Israel realized we can use the Holocaust to get people to support Zionism, and they started building all these Holocaust museums, pushing it in schools. You have all these celebrity Holocaust survivors emerge, and they tie it to Israel, and it's a good talking point. Yeah, we were genocided, so we should be allowed to genocide.
Hollywood, they made thousands of movies about it. Who happens to be ran by people? No, it's brilliant. It's you look at the old books by all the books after the war. They don't mention the Holocaust.
Right.
It wasn't till like I said 10, 20 years later the Holocaust kind of thing.
Right.
I'm not supposed to do this, but I think I'm gonna have a debate on here. The problem is I'm having a hard time finding someone that'll bait. I have a denier, but I'm having a hard time someone that'll argue that it happened. I've had 3 people pull out so far. Once I give them the name of the guy they're supposed to debate, they do a little research, and they're like, yeah, I'm going to pull out of this. And I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion. I just think the idea that you're not allowed to talk about that pisses me off.
Yes.
It's like you can go to jail in 19 countries for talking about it. That's why I think, okay, let's have a debate and see.
Right. And Finkelstein, the guy who wrote that industry book, it would be great if you could get him to do that debate, I think. But he got so canceled for that book, and he's not a Holocaust.
Yeah,
he says that it happened repeatedly in the book, but he says here's how they exaggerated it and used it to get people to support it.
Well, I think a perfect example at the beginning of this conversation, you think it was exaggerated, the deaths in communism. I don't know if that's true or not, but you should be allowed to say that and question it. But you can't question these deaths, even on YouTube or anywhere, I think even in Twitter you can get pulled down for it.
Right.
It's the one thing that you can't question. It just shows because whether it happened that whether not, it was still turned into an industry and a talking point and a power thing, and they use that to we can do this because the
right. But you're not allowed to say King Leopold of Belgium in 1908 killed 10 million people, Congolese people, and cut off their hands.
Was it 10 million? Yeah, 10 million. Yeah, 10, 15 million. Yeah, 10 million is right. I think you're right. Yeah, insane. Just absolutely brutal torture. hardly even knows who he is. One of the most evil people ever.
Right.